ladies and gentlemen. Testing 1, 2, 3. Testing 1, 2, 3. Ladies and gentlemen, testing 1, 2, 3. All right, we're back for round 2. I have a headset on now to make sure that I hear everything fine in the microphone. I actually hear everything crystal clear. Let me know in the chat if indeed it is crystal clear. Hate to have to restart a stream like that, but if that's what did it, we should be good. Right now, I'm hearing everything directly out of... Okay. So it was a Streamlabs issue, not a microphone, not an issue with the equipment. Apparently, Streamlabs being weird. We are back. I can take this headset off now because you guys can hear me. I'm not sure exactly what happened there. We'll wait a couple minutes just to get some more people in because it looks like there's only 2 people that bothered to come back. Everyone probably didn't get the notification that we are back, but we are back. Welcome Facebook, X, Twitch, and YouTube. Sorry about the technical difficulties. Sometimes Streamlabs can go a little crazy, but everything seems to be in working order. It apparently was a glitch with Streamlabs because everything still sounds perfect on the headset, so I'm assuming Streamlabs just had a weird hiccup. All right, tonight we are going to... so back to the giveaway. The number 1 grand prize winner, if you're listening... I really need to look up his name. I think it's... I can't remember. Moderator, if you remember the guy's name from the last stream, let me know. Anyway, he has till Monday to respond. We sent him an email directly from a Survival Summit email, and we sent one through our email system. And I hope that he gets it. If he doesn't, the number 2 will be picked as the grand prize winner. However, the number 2 hasn't responded either. So the number 3 will be the winner if number 1 and 2 never respond. So hopefully they will get back to us. Otherwise, someone else who already won a book and a film is also going to win the entire Bug Out Bag package, including Faraday bags, ham radios, and just a ton of gear with the 511 Rush 72 backpack. It's going to be pretty awesome for them, but we'll wait until the end of Monday to give that full 5 days to make sure that the grand prize winner doesn't get back to us. We hope he does, but you never know. You know what? I'm going to look up his name right now, just in case he's listening. So that way I can let him know he needs to respond. And if you know this person, reach out to them and let them know if they don't respond by the end of Monday, we will be giving the grand prize to someone else. Imagine being the guy who opens his email on Tuesday morning, thinking he won all this amazing gear, and then only to realize that someone else became the winner because he didn't check his spam mail or he just didn't check his email for like 6 days. That would be pretty unfortunate, but it happens. All right, let's see. So the grand prize winner was Chris Newman. Chris Newman, you were the grand prize winner. If you are listening, you need to email us back immediately, info@thesurvivalsummit.com, with the email that you signed up for in the giveaway, which I'm not going to tell people exactly what that email is because they don't need to know. There's another gentleman named Ryan who is number 2 who also has not responded. The number 3, if you're listening, Cody McDougal. If 1 or 2 doesn't get back to me by the end of Monday, Cody McDougal will become the grand prize winner. So I think Cody, if he's listening, is probably hoping that we never hear from the other 2 people. That would be my guess. That would be what I would be hoping for. All right, so earlier today, no, maybe it was yesterday, I put out a video on TikTok just kind of showing people the satellite phone. I'm going to zoom in for this so you guys can see it a little bit better. Bada boom. So this is the Inmarsat. I think I was calling it I've been always calling it the It's a Stat, but it's actually the iSat phone. Inmarsat iSat phone 2. And this thing is amazing. I love this satellite phone. I have one. My family has one at another location. So I put out a video that explained you can actually get the satellite phone for free if you go to satellitephonestore.com. I'm going to show you guys that. I'm going to do a screen capture. And I'm going to go there. That is not the right page. This is the Inmarsat iSat phone 2. You can get the phone for free if you sign up for a 2-year plan with a 50-minute a month plan. It's $74.95. And yes, satellite minutes are expensive. They've always been expensive. Now, if you buy the phone, some people might be thinking, what if I buy the phone and I just get the plan separate? So if you buy the phone, let's pull up one of those 50-minute a month. So it's $60, but you have to pay $739 for the phone. If you do the plan where you get the phone included, yes, it's $15 more a month over that 2-year period, but that's still half the price of what you would have paid for the phone. So you're basically paying wholesale over the 2-year period is essentially how that works. So yes, by a technicality, are you getting the satellite phone absolutely free? Not necessarily absolutely free, but you're still getting it for free. You're just paying a little more. And most people, when they buy a cell phone, depending on what it is, let me unzoom. Nobody wants to see my face up this close. Most of the time, you're paying payments on, like if you get a brand new iPhone and it costs $1,000 or $1,500, most of the time you're paying payments on that. And you are paying interest, and you're paying more than what you would probably if you bought the phone outright. So it's not much different than that. So a lot of comments. That video actually really took off on TikTok. Let's see. It's at 52,000 views right now. 52.3 thousand views, but it's barely been 24 hours since the video went out. So that one's really taken off. There's about 900 or 950 saves of that video. So there's a lot of people that are going to check out the satellite phone, which is great. We don't make any money if you buy a satellite phone or the plan. We literally have no affiliate deal. We don't make any money on it. I thought we had a coupon code. It was TSS where you save the $50 activation fee, but I look back at my emails, and that was a year. In December of 2024, that was a year. So that coupon code with them may have expired. I emailed them to say, hey, I thought this coupon code you were just going to give, and we'll throw people your way, and you'd keep this coupon code going. But it may have expired. Maybe they didn't know. So I'm still waiting to hear back from satellitephonestore.com. I love these phones. So these are the satellite phones. They're not quite as good as Iridium, but unless you're on the extreme northern and southern poles, like way up in the middle of, Russia or Canada, at the extreme poles, you're not going to be able to use these, but they work everywhere else in the world. These satellites are roughly 22,000 miles in the air and up into the atmosphere. The Iridium satellites, which are more expensive, you're going to pay more money for the minutes, you're going to pay more money for the phone. Those, I think, are around 400 or 500 miles up, as opposed to like Starlink, which I think is somewhere between 300 and 400 miles up. So those lower satellites, I believe there's more of them, and you may have a better signal. So this camera is really annoying me. I turned off hand gestures, but apparently it's come back. Maybe it reset itself. Who knows? Anyway, you may have more satellites, and in some areas where it's a little more dense, it may be easier, like with the Inmarsat satellite phones. I believe there's at least 3 of them, and they're super high up there. So most of that satellite positioning is fixed. So once you find a good signal, you should be good to go. I tested out. I just got the other one for my family, and we tested it out over the weekend. A little bit of a delay, but you'd never know it because you're not going to be near the people anyway. But there's a couple second delay because, remember, your signal is going up for 22,000 miles and then bouncing back down. But these are amazing. You can also program them. There's a button on the top where you can program an emergency number. So some of the other comments were, hey, why would I get an expensive satellite phone plan when I can use, Starlink internet, or I can use my iPhone that has emergency satellite texting? And soon enough, we'll probably have regular satellite texting that I'm sure you'll have to pay extra for. And at some point, They might also have satellite calls on your cell phone. The problem with that is, and don't get me wrong, it's awesome. And if you want to add that to your primary means of communication, that's great. The problem I have with that is that if that's your only method, and just because you think I have cell phone and satellite on the same device, I'm covered. Well, what if you lose your phone? What if something happens to it? That's still your primary. So in your P.A.C.E plan, primary, alternate, contingency, and emergency, your cell phone is typically your primary. Back in the day, in the 80s, 90s, your primary was usually a landline. And your alternate could be a satellite phone. Your contingency could be ham radio. Your emergency could be GMRS walkie-talkie or just a regular walkie-talkie. That would be a basic P.A.C.E plan. So even if you can get satellite on a cell phone, that's great. However, that doesn't cover the backup to the backup to the backup. That doesn't cover your alternate and your contingencies. And also, if this is my primary device, and even if I don't lose it, let's say, God forbid, there's an EMP that takes down most of the grid. That could also take out some satellites too, so keep that in mind. But let's say you don't have your phone. You're not going to have your phone for cellular, and you're not going to have the satellite feature on your phone either. So what's your next plan? Is your next plan a satellite phone? Is your next plan after that? You really should have as many options as possible. So, yeah, I think it's awesome that you may be able to use your satellite services through your cell phone. But all these backup devices I keep in either the EMP bags, which are 40 decibels of attenuation. They'll work great for an EMP. They don't block all signals quite as good as this bag. This is a Faraday bag. We sell these on our website, thesurvivalsummit.com. This is made by Faraday Defense. This is 80 decibels of attenuation. These are typically what the FBI would use if they seize your equipment, like laptop or whatever it may be, because no signals get in and out. No 4K, no 5K, no Wi-Fi, no Bluetooth. None of that is going to get through in a Faraday bag. So all these backup devices I keep in Faraday bags at all times in a crush-proof case. Tonight, if there was a large-scale, high-altitude EMP, clearly I'd be in some trouble because it's all out of the case. But typically it's all packed in the Faraday bags. It's all put away in the hard case. So that's how I keep. And some of you already know, I've showed this before. This is my backup cell phone. This is not for communications. I don't use this. I don't have an actual plan on this. This is not for making calls. This, which I keep in the smaller Faraday bag, and I have more than just 2 of these, but I have thousands of survival manuals on these USB thumb drives. And this is an older iPhone, so it's the Lightning connector. Most of the new ones are USB-C, but you can also get USB-C to USB. Plug this in the phone, plug the USB in the connector, and you can either watch instructional films or you can read survival manuals on your phone or an iPad or any other device that you have as a backup device in a Faraday bag. So instead of having to worry if all your books on survival and preparedness are stocked away in one location and there's a fire or a flood and you lose all that information, you can keep it all on a USB thumb drive. But again, keep backups. And now they have newer USB thumb drives that are USB-C plugins, not the regular USB. But they also have ones that are USB on one end, USB-C on the other, and they're 3.2, so they're faster. They're going to transfer data faster. It's going to be easier to open PDFs and documents and things like that. These old school ones, I'm not going to say they're on their way out, but there's better alternatives that are out there now. It's always trying to keep an eye on technology and seeing what's going to be better and what's going to be more beneficial for your kit. So if you don't have a satellite phone and you don't want to wait, and I don't think you should anyway. And the other thing, so somebody else made a comment, hey, what if I only have a satellite phone and no one else I know has a satellite phone? Well, 90%, this is literally a random percentage I'm making up, but 90% of the events that happen, they're going to be either emergencies for you if you're off-grid or if you're camping or hiking, or they might be localized emergencies, tornadoes, fires, floods. It doesn't mean you have to think only worst-case scenario. Oh, man, what if a large solar flare takes down the grid? What if it takes down satellites? What if it does this? What if it does that? Well, what if it does? You know, what if you get hit in the face with a meteor? I mean, anything can happen. But that doesn't change the fact that almost every instance where I may need to use this satellite phone to save myself or my family or a friend or get out of a bad situation is going to be in a location where my cell phone service doesn't work. And this could save me. Yes, could I send an emergency text through like the new iPhone? Of course I could. Would I rather have a pre-programmed emergency number depending on where I am in here, or have people that I trust that I can call any number with the satellite phone to get a hold of, especially people that know where I am and I need to tell them that I can't get out or something happened? You know, when we work with Graybeard Green Beret doing a lot of instructional courses, when he was doing all those courses, there was a lot of areas where he held those courses where the cell phone signal didn't exist. And we had a hard time getting a hold of students that were maybe lost, couldn't find the location. There was a lot of things that were going on. And I finally convinced him, you need to get a satellite phone because we need to be able to get a hold of you when you're in an area with no signal, or if a student gets hurt, something happens out in the middle of nowhere, especially during an event, you need to have a way to communicate with someone to get help without having to just haul them out yourself and then spend a lot of extra time, especially if they need some sort of serious medical attention or evac or an extraction out of a really bad situation. So I think satellite phone, when it comes to PACE planning, should definitely be something that's in your PACE plan for communications. And we also talked about ham radios. This one is a little bit cheaper. It's the UR5. I think it's the TP5. It's a newer version. I think it's an 8-watt Bofang. Now, keep in mind, and I'm just getting into ham radios, by the way. I'm by no means an expert. And I'm going to show you guys a website in a minute that I talked to them. They wanted to make some sort of affiliate deal, but I said, you know what, I'd rather push your stuff organically. I'll send people to your site. They basically teach you how to prep for ham radio licensing. So this ham radio is a little bit cheaper. You have to keep in mind with ham radios, depending on the wattage, depending on the power, you may only get 5 to 10 miles out of a ham radio unless you're using repeaters. And then maybe you're 20 to 50 miles. Some of the ham radios that are in vehicles may be a lot higher powered, and you may have much further distance, or the ham radios that you set up at a specific location with a big antenna. I think the max is like 1,500 watts that you're allowed. They're communicating with people all over the world. But you got to have licenses to do a lot of that stuff. So I'm going to flip back to the display capture, and I'm going to show you guys. Here it is, ham radio prep. So these guys have great courses where basically will teach you how to get your license for a technician license, general license, and amateur extra license course. There's different levels to ham radio licensing, and these guys have a really good setup, and it's not very expensive, so I would definitely check them out if I were you. hamradioprep.com. And again, we don't make money if you go there. We don't make money if you sign up for anything. I thought I had a coupon code with them, but maybe I don't. If I do, it's probably TSS, which was the one that was supposed to be for the satellite service. You could try it. I don't remember. I'd have to go back and look at my emails. I really need to start paying better attention to what I'm doing with these coupon codes, especially when it's not for affiliates. We do some affiliate work. We do some affiliate work with Jace Medical. We do affiliate work with some friends of ours at Practical Survival on the TikTok shop. We have a couple products on there that we have in our showcase that belong to them. This is the emergency crank radio. It's a really nice radio. But these guys are friends of ours. They're actually pushing our films out on TikTok because they have a massive affiliate network on TikTok. So we're trying to get some samples out right now to a bunch of different affiliates on TikTok to get the Survival Summit instructional films pushed out to the masses. We're also working on trying to get the films on Amazon. That's proved to be a little bit difficult. There's a lot of crazy stuff that's happening with that, but I have the same guys from Practical Survival helping with that because they already have a system set up on Amazon, and Amazon is very difficult if you're trying to sell, especially, like a DVD product or something to that effect. It's not very easy. All right. So that's the ham radio. You can get really expensive ones. You can get really cheap ones. You need to learn about them. They're not something you want to buy, keep in a box, and then shit hits the fan and all of a sudden you're taking it out of the box and trying to figure out how it works. That's not really going to go well for you. The other item, of course, this is the GTX 3000. I'll pull that up and I'll show you that on the site. Whoops. All right, this is the GTX 3000. For a pair, it's $150. So these are really, really nice walkie-talkies, but they also have GMRS capability. And with the use of repeaters, you can get an extended range with these. But you don't have to have a license for the GMRS, but you do have to have a registration. And I think I did that about a month ago. So I have a registration with the FCC where I can use GMRS, but if you're going to use repeaters, you have to have permission for who owns the repeaters unless you set up your own repeaters. And these will probably go 35 miles or so in a, more of a flat open plain. In the city, you're not going to get near that distance. But this should be part of your communication plan is walkie-talkies, even if they're not GMRS-enabled walkie-talkies. Just having a variety of different ways to communicate with family, friends, or your group specifically. I mean, like I say all the time, your PACE plan could be 1 primary, 2 alternates, 3 contingencies, and an emergency, or whatever it could be. You may say, my primary is my cell phone. I have a second cell phone with service in a Faraday bag. Maybe I have 2 primaries. Maybe as my alternate, I have a satellite radio and a satellite messenger, text messenger that pairs with another device. Maybe your contingency is a ham radio at your house as a base station for super long distance, or one in your vehicle, or a CB radio, and then maybe walkie-talkie. Maybe that's your emergency, or maybe that's another one of your contingencies. A lot of that stuff is laid out in our book, PACE Planning, which you can get on Amazon. PACE Planning, Your Guide to Emergency Preparedness and Bug Out Strategies, and that covers pretty much every category. You guys have heard me talk about that a lot, so I won't get too far into it. And then some of the other things that I've actually added, because I've done videos with some of this gear. This is kind of my communication and electronic setup that I keep in a nice case, nice crush-proof case. This is part of the satellite phone. It's a really, really nice holster, and you can put a clip on it, put it on your belt. I did want to show you guys. So the Garmin 64ST is a really, really nice handheld GPS. And I'm going to screen share again so I can show you. Unfortunately, you can still get these, but these have actually, the 64ST has been discontinued. But you can still find them on eBay, and you can probably still find them from some retailers. But if you're looking down here, they have a new 67 series, which it's fairly expensive. It's like $500. You can probably get the used 64ST for about $200, $250, somewhere in that range. And I'm not saying just get Garmin. There's a lot of other GPS places that make really good GPS units, but I really love Garmin. I've been using them in vehicles and handhelds for quite a long time. They have a 65 series. It's a little bit cheaper. They have the E-Trek series, the 66 series. They have a ton of different options. And again, that is going to be in your PACE plan for navigation. Your primary is probably going to be your cell phone, depending on where you are. It won't be your primary if you're off-grid, or maybe it is, depending on what apps you use. But if you don't have a signal, that really isn't going to work. So your alternate, in my opinion, should be a handheld GPS. You may have a wrist handheld GPS. You may have a Sun 2 watch GPS. There's a lot of different ways that you can do it. What is your contingency plan? It really should be a map, a topo map, and a compass, which I've talked about before. And this time, I actually brought a topo map to show you guys a sample. Make sure it's not one that I have marked up for my personal stuff. This should be the blank one. I believe it is. And so I wanted to get the 125th scale, but I realized that my compass was the 124th scale. So I have a bunch of topo maps, and I don't really want to get more. I don't want to upgrade them, so I'm just going to stick with this scale. A lot of people like the 125th scale better. So if you have a 125th scale compass, you want to make sure when you order a topo map from mytopo.com or wherever you're going to get them, that you're getting the scale that matches your compass. So this, let me zoom in real quick just so you guys can see this a little better. I know I promised to show this quite a while ago, and I never did. It's still going to be hard to see. I really can't zoom in that well. I need a better setup to be able to show these. But you can pay about $16 or $17 for a topo map that's for a specific town or a specific area based on longitude and latitude. And you can do it with the surrounding towns. You can basically make a custom topo map almost anywhere, at least in the United States. I've never tried to make one outside of the United States, but topo maps are pretty amazing. And if you have any type of property, you should have a topo map of that property, and you should practice navigation using that topo map on that land or wherever that location is. Especially if you have, as part of your bug out plan, alternate and contingency locations, you should also have a topo map of those locations to make it easier. That would always be something that we would recommend. And of course, also in this kit, since it's on the table, we can talk about it. Some of my favorite flashlights. This is I think this is the P20IX. Yeah, P20IX. This, I believe, is the 4,000 lumen flashlight. And this one you can charge by plugging it in on the side. So you don't have to really take the battery out, get those old school chargers. You can just plug it in direct. You can also use power banks to recharge that. So the only thing, now that we're talking about power banks, the only thing with the ham radio that I have and the walkie-talkie I have, these are still, they don't have a charge that I can use with a solar power bank. I can use an EcoFlow with an actual plug power bank, but these go into basically into this unit and then they plug into a wall socket. So at some point I'm going to upgrade to have something that I can charge on the fly rather than needing to plug in, because I may not have my, EcoFlow River 2, which is very small. It's 300 watts. It'll charge all this stuff very easily multiple times, but it's still a little big, and it's not generally going to be in the bug out bag. It's going to be in the location. I actually have another one coming, I think. It may have came today, or it could be there tomorrow at home. I picked up the River 3 Plus, which is a 600 watt with a peak watt, I think, of 1200. So it's a much better version. It's still small, and it's got 286 watt hours. And you can solar charge it while you're using it to power devices. So it's a much better version, and I'll make a video of that probably this weekend, and it'll probably go on all social media, including TikTok. Especially TikTok. I'll do it on there because I can be an affiliate for that on TikTok and make a commission off of EcoFlow selling them on there. I won't make a commission on any other social media channel when it comes to that, but I don't care about that. I love the EcoFlow products. I think they're amazing. And that River 3, I'll probably bring that up here next week for next Tuesday's live, and I'll show you guys that unit. I'll show you the solar panel that goes with it. It's pretty awesome. Well, hopefully it's a big upgrade from the River 2, but I'm going to find out this weekend. The other one I like is the Viz Tactical. So this flashlight does multiple colors, including red if you're trying to stay not visible but still trying to see. This takes regular batteries, but I really, really like it. I love any type of flashlight that you can recharge with a solar power bank. I love them. But this headlamp, I love it so much. And I do have some Nikkor versions that you can recharge by plugging them in. So I picked up, that goes in my communications and electronics kit, one of these. This is basically a battery charger for rechargeable batteries. And I picked up a bunch of different rechargeable batteries, AAA, AA. They can be recharged multiple times. And I can also use my EcoFlow to recharge, to keep this plugged in when I charge these batteries for devices that I might have regular batteries for, which isn't very much. Really, it's this. I have a couple other devices that I've never really shown people that take regular batteries, and at some point maybe I will. So that's why I have a bunch of rechargeable batteries now, because there are some things that you may want a rechargeable battery for in a lot of different scenarios and a lot of different pieces of electronic equipment. So I've added this to everything that I have. And the power banks, this is a newer power bank. You can recharge it with solar, but this one's pretty cool because it has, micro port, the lightning connector, USB-C, and regular USB connectors already built in, so you don't need to worry about that. Now, when you charge this, to recharge this, if you're not using solar, you do have to use the USB plug-in connector. You can't recharge it with these. These are just giving power to devices. You still have to plug it in on the back. And it's got a flashlight as well. And I believe this one is 39 or 36,000 mAh. This one is a little bit older, but it's got a little bit more solar capability. This is kind of one you can put on the back of your backpack and charge it while you're on the move. You can charge your phone or your GPS or your satellite phone a bunch of times with these. And you can recharge them with the sun. So I think they're really, really amazing. Heather Lee says, I believe if you have iPhone 12 and above, you can buy MagSafe battery packs. I have one for my iPhone 15. I think I actually had one. And I think something happened to it. And I don't remember exactly what happened. But I have these power banks which provide a ton of power for small devices. And I think I have 4 of them just in my electronics case alone that are completely separate from my bigger EcoFlow unit. And I think they're pretty amazing. Another item you can have, I showed you guys before, I had the Bivy stick, which is basically a satellite messenger. It pairs with your phone, which was a little bit of a problem because if your primary device goes down, you don't have a secondary device, you're not going to be able to use the Bivy stick because it's through an app on your phone, and the stick itself is connecting to the satellite and it allows you to send text messages back and forth. I actually bought it because my son's school has a very bad signal outside. That was really the only reason I got it. But I've returned both of those, and I got another satellite phone. So now it's satellite communications with regular comms instead of trying to use the messenger devices. Not that they're not good. Some of them are great. Even if you get one that just has an emergency beacon and you're out hiking, hit the button and boom, people will find you. So this is a 15 watt. It's not nearly as good as like a 110 watt or a 220 watt solar panel that you'd have for an EcoFlow unit. This is a 15 watt, and you plug the USB in here, and you can actually charge devices direct through this panel. This one was made for the Bivy, but it'll also work with an iPhone and a lot of other small electronics, and you can recharge your device direct to the solar panel. So technology, especially when it comes to solar power and power banks, has really, really, really come a long way. It's light years from what it ever used to be, and it's a little bit exciting, I'm not going to lie. I get excited when I see a lot of new products come out. Like even with the old solar bank, this is an old school micro port, and I had to put an adapter to USB-C for certain applications, but the new ones have pretty much everything, including the old tech and the new tech. The only thing I don't like about when they sell these, this almost looks like a MagSafe for charging, but I don't think it is. I've tried it. It doesn't do anything. It's just, I don't know why they make it look like that. It's kind of funky. They do have some that do work like that, but I don't think this one does. This one's very new. I really haven't tested that one out yet. But honestly, even these old ones that were like $20 or $25 at 30,000 mAh, they work great. I've had this in the case. Every month or so, I recharge everything. I recharge everything. Satellite, Garmin, all the devices to make sure that they're fully powered. And I don't remember the last time I charged this. So let's see. I'm going to zoom in. Hopefully I don't look stupid. If you hit the button, the lights on the side, these usually keep the power pretty well. Yep. So I don't know if you can see that, but all the lights are lit up, so it's full because I only use it for emergencies. But this has kept a charge for, I think, at least a couple months. I don't think I've charged this one in quite a while. But I really try to keep up with everything, and I try to charge all of my devices, especially if they're sitting in Faraday bags. They're off. I obviously don't keep them on in a Faraday bag. But I like to recharge everything at least once a month to make sure that if I'm out in the middle of nowhere and I say, oh man, I need to use my satellite phone. Oh damn, the battery's almost dead. Now I have to charge it with a power bank or some other method, which works because I can plug it into the power bank and turn it on and use it while it's plugged in. But I'd rather have it fully charged just in case. You never know. So I just turned it off just to make sure that I didn't accidentally leave it on when I go to put it away later. The case is pretty nice. It's a little bulky. It's like we're back in the 1980s and we have huge phones on our sides, but hey, I keep it in the case anyway. I don't typically carry that on my belt unless I'm out in the middle of nowhere and I know I'm not going to have a signal, then I will carry this with me. This is not just a backup device. This is an emergency communications device that in certain situations and scenarios, you need to have on you. You don't always have to keep it in a Faraday bag. You're not always going to be worrying like, oh no, what if there's an EMP? Well, again, what if anything could happen? But if you're on the mountainside and you know you don't have service, keep your satellite phone on you. If you have people that are close by at a base camp, keep your ham radio. Keep your walkie-talkie. Keep as many communication devices without weighing down yourself like crazy, but most of these devices are very light. And again, you want to have a good P.A.C.E plan when it comes to communication. Same as you want to have a P.A.C.E plan with everything else: fire, shelter, water, food, land nav, signaling, medical, self-defense, for everything. You want to have a P.A.C.E plan for literally everything. Let's see. Is there anything on this table that I haven't talked about? I don't think there is. We went over power bank, solar panel, GMRS, walkie-talkie, ham, GPS, satellite phone, Faraday bags, rechargeable batteries. I think that's everything on the table. But again, I will highly recommend get a second phone, an old phone. It doesn't even have to be one with service. An old iPhone, whatever, or an old iPad, and keep it. Don't return them unless you're going to get like a ton of money to get a really awesome iPhone. Keep all the old phones you can. Get the adapters for them. And go on eBay and buy yourself USB thumb drives packed with survival manuals. You can put thousands of manuals. You can get films from Survival Summit that are instructional films. You can put those. You can buy them as USBs already. You can watch them on your phone. You can watch them on your iPad. And you can have them as a backup without having to carry a ton of different books. So I would highly recommend that. And I would also highly recommend keeping one of these high-powered flashlights. Doesn't have to be 4,000 lumens. 1,000 lumens is good. 2,000 lumens is good. These also can go from, 30 lumens that'll last like almost a week all the way up to, 300, whatever the settings are. I've been using a different one than the P20IX for a while that I have on my dresser, and then I have another one on my belt, which I think it's just it might be the M. It's another version. It's almost the same as the P20IX. I think it's the MH12 GTS, I believe. And it's pretty much almost the same as the P20IX with just slightly different features. But they're both very strong, very powerful aircraft aluminum, so you can use them as a defensive weapon if you really needed to defend yourself, not just with blinding light in the night and in the darkness, but if you actually have to use this to strike, you can. Between the blinding light and getting cracked in the face with aircraft aluminum, these are pretty strong, and the batteries last for quite a while. If you're on high all the way like 2,000 or 4,000 lumen, they're not going to last that long, but you could recharge them very quickly in a vehicle with a power bank. I charge them at night. If I use them a lot, like at night, I'll charge them whenever, you'll start to see you won't have as high of a lumen, and a lot of them you'll be able to tell exactly where the battery level is at. But I have a lot of older Nikkor flashlights, and I'm partial to Nikkor. They make them. They have a factory in Austin, Texas, so I'm kind of partial to that brand. I know one of the guys when I first started in survival. I had a really good deal, and they were drop shipping them for me, and I had a really killer margin, and I really fell in love with these lights. But there are plenty of lights that are just as high quality, sometimes maybe even better. There's a lot of different light manufacturers. I'd be a little careful, like on the TikTok shop where they're like, this is 5 billion lumens. You could burn down a barn with this. A lot of the times it's nonsense, and you're going to end up buying some piece of crap that isn't really worth much, and you think you're getting this fantastic deal. At some point, I'm going to go on there, and I'm going to buy some of the most widely marketed flashlights that they say are the greatest and brightest in the world, and I'm going to actually try them. Maybe I'll make a video where, they say this one can burn a hole in a piece of paper and shine a light 2 miles away. Well, maybe I should test them out and see, because maybe there's a needle in the haystack, and some of these, maybe they are pretty amazing. The technology with the Cree lighting and all that stuff is pretty advanced, so it's been easier and easier for flashlight companies to make super powerful lights with really small devices. So I would definitely look into it. Again, you don't have to look into Nikkor. You can look into other brands that are similar. but they're cheap, especially for the power that you get out of them. And a lot of them, like I think this one is a 5,000 mAh battery. But definitely don't get the old school ones. I have a lot of old school ones where you have to unscrew it, take the battery out. I have one at my house, actually, that we use when we're checking on the chickens at night. It's just really powerful, and it's got a long, narrow throw. And I love that light. So I take the battery out, and I put it in an actual charger whenever. I don't think my wife ever charges it. I think it's me usually once a week. But now I buy the ones where I can plug them in direct, USB-C, and charge them in a matter of hours. And it's much easier. You don't have to set them in the stupid charger and then put them back together. I love them. So again, technology for the win. But don't always rely on technology. Have skills, have training, have really good gear. And I love electronics just as much as anybody. But again, as a part of a PACE plan, they're just a small part. They might be primary, they might be alternate, they could be contingency. You want to have as many advantages in a survival situation as you can, but you don't want to be the guy carrying a giant bug out bag that's 5 times the size of you that you probably can't even carry for very far. So be careful. Make sure you're not overpacking. You're not putting like stuff that you're definitely not going to need if you're just traveling from point A to point B. Just have your bases covered when it comes to shelter, fire, water, food, medical, and go from there. And we have a ton of instructional films on thesurvivalsummit.com. We even have a subscription, $19.95 a month, and you get access to over 40 hours of films and then another 30 hours of some older webinars going over a lot of crazy different discussions and things in the preparedness world. And you get an automatic 15% off of all gear on Survival Summit if you are an active subscriber. And also, I believe it's still going on. If you become a subscriber, you get a book for free. Even if you only stick around for a month and then cancel, you'll be fine. Still get the book. We're not going to track it. We're not going to call you, hey man, why'd you leave? We're not really paying attention to that. We'd love to have you, and I really appreciate you guys coming on to the live stream. I just applied to have, which could be dangerous because I could get a lot of violations, but I just applied to get a stream key for TikTok so I can actually stream on TikTok also. This stupid screen, move with my hand again. So I can also stream on TikTok as well as Facebook, X, YouTube, and Twitch. So if they approve me for a stream key, then now I'll be streaming also on TikTok on here. And if I do that, I'm not going to be careful about talking about links. So TikTok may eventually get annoyed and not let me do it anymore. But I'm not going to change up this simulcast stream just because of one platform. So we'll see how it goes. Let's see. Tomorrow, I'm headed back home. If I have time, I may stream on TikTok randomly. I don't know what time it would be. Either on Saturday or Sunday. And hopefully that EcoFlow River 3 Plus is at my house waiting for me when I go home Friday night. And I can test that thing out, check it out, try to make a video, show some of the features, things like that. I don't really do unboxings, but maybe I will. Maybe I'll do, I don't think I have. Maybe I'll do my first unboxing of something like that. People seem to like watching that. I'm not 100% sure why, but maybe I'll do it. See what happens. Throw it on YouTube, throw it up on other social media, and see what happens. All right. Again, if you were part of the giveaway and you didn't check your email or you didn't watch the live stream on Tuesday, you can rewatch the live stream on Tuesday. Make sure that you are not a winner, because if you were, you need to get back to us by the end of Monday, this coming Monday, March 31st. And I'm hoping tomorrow that I'll have some big news that I've been teasing that could possibly, potentially, maybe happen, but I wasn't 100% sure. So I'm thinking maybe tomorrow I might know if that news is going to happen, and then I can announce it next Tuesday during the live, or maybe I'll even announce it on TikTok. We'll see. We'll see what's going to happen. But it's going to be cool. You guys are going to like it a lot. Heather Lee, thank you. Thank you for... you were here. I think you were the first one here the last 2 streams. You must be changing your dinner schedule, because usually you float in a little bit later, so you must be eating at different times. Happy to have you here. Marjorie Mahuta, thank you for coming. Everyone else out there on X, YouTube, Twitch, and TikTok, and YouTube, thanks for stopping by. And I will see you guys. If I don't see you on TikTok, I will see you next Tuesday at 7 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. And hopefully